Well, I would say that, being forced to lie about anything diminishes you and weakens you as a person. And you're never going to be successful in business or as a human being if your life is based on lies. And so, I don't think you really need to tell most entrepreneurs this. They understand it. They're not like everybody else. They're clearly braver than the average person. Their goal is not to work at some giant soulless company and take a paycheck. Their life is not all about the space between the workday and the rest. They're not living for the weekend. You know what I mean? They want to accomplish something with their lives. And they're not going along with the herd by definition. So I think they're a little bit more aware of this than the average person anyway. But just to restate, you don't need to say everything you think. Often you shouldn't say everything you think, but you should never lie. And you should never allow anyone to force you to lie. That's a form of slavery. If you can make someone lie, that person is not fully human. You're not regarding him as an autonomous human being. You're regarding him as an object whose behavior you can control. And so you don't ever want to allow anyone to make you do that, ever. You are the media. I mean, it's a little bit like Martin Luther nailing the 95 Theses to the, church door in Wittenberg. It's like, it's a reformation of a sort. It's like, clearly the media, the legacy media, which is really the mechanism through which all information in our society flows, big media companies, whether it's Google or Facebook or NBC or the New York Times, that's how we know what's going on in the world, through those pipelines from those big companies. They've been exposed as totally corrupt, hopelessly corrupt, like not fixably corrupt. Like you can't actually fix Google, you can't fix Facebook, you're not going to fix the New York Times. You have to find an option for the sake of your country and for your own dignity. And Elon has made possible through X freedom of speech, unfiltered exchange of information, which is prerequisite for democracy, but not just for democracy, for human dignity. And it's changed the world completely. And he's done it in the face of dangerous opposition, like literally dangerous opposition, because when you tell the truth, you threaten the liars. And if the liars are running every institution in the world, you put yourself at risk, big risk. But he's done it anyway. So I would say, I just want to be clear, I've never taken $1 from Elon. I know him, I admire him more than almost anybody. But even if I didn't know him, I would say he is like a figure out of history. He is one of those people about whom books will be written, people will study his life 500 years from now. Like, he is at the center of a pivot point in history. He's that important a figure. So I'm grateful that he's in America. What we just saw 4 days ago is a total realignment of American politics and culture completely. It's a complete change, a break in the Republican Party with the past and the Democratic Party. I mean, the single most popular surrogate for Donald Trump was Bobby Kennedy Jr. from the most famous party in the Democratic family, the Democratic Party. And of course, the main surrogate for Kamala Harris was Dick Cheney's daughter, one of the most famous living Republican families. So you've seen this complete swap, and the implications of it are, remarkable. So kind of the traditional left, which believed in free speech, peace, healthy eating, the environment, the actual environment, not the absurd corporate climate cult, but like truly, like clean air, water, trees. That's all migrated to the Republican Party. Against its will, by the way. The leaders of the Republican Party would never have made those changes, ever. Mitch McConnell would never have done this, didn't want it. But Donald Trump made it possible. And, check in 5 years to see the effects of that. But I think it's the big political change of our lifetime.
See things like that happen.
Well, Peanut the squirrel was really, as an animal lover, it moved me. Look, Kamala Harris did not kill the guy's squirrel, but the state that she helped create and endorses, the police state, did. And people understood that. In what world can some government bureaucrat show up with a gun in your house, take your pets and kill them? That's not a free country at all. That's dystopian. That's North Korean. That should not happen in the United States of America. It happens all the time. And so it was, the death of a squirrel is not, a world-changing event, but it was a metaphor for the carelessness with which the state treats its citizens. Like, you have no right to kill my pets. What? But they do. And they do a lot of things like that, a lot. And people know that. And so that kind of crystallized resentment toward this all-powerful state that feels like it has the right to lecture your children about sex and come into your house with a gun and tell you what to do. It's like, no, it's America. It's a free country. Back off. You can't kill my pets. Like, was it a rabid squirrel? No. Did it have a history of attacking strangers? No. But like some regulation somewhere said you're not allowed to have a squirrel in their house. They just came into the guy's house and killed the squirrel. When literally rapes on the subway go unpunished, half of all murders are, they don't even try to solve them. Things are out of control and you're hassling a guy about a squirrel? You're the criminal. You're the criminal, actually. I think that's how people feel. That's how I feel. Leave my squirrel alone. I'd like to live in a depoliticized world, personally, like the one I grew up in, where your political views, like your sexual practices, are not open to public examination, that don't form the basis of your identity. I don't want to hear about your sex life, actually. I don't want to hear, that you're part of this or that sexual community. Why don't you just keep it to yourself? Like, how about you stop telling me about your sex life? I don't want to hear who you voted for. I don't want to hear about why. I don't want to hear about your abortion. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. I just want to buy your product or not, based on whether it's good or not. We don't live in that world, unfortunately. Everything has been politicized. Our children are relentlessly politicized. They can't stop pushing politics on us. And so someone like Elon, and I've talked to him about this, felt pushed too far. Elon Musk makes rockets and boring machines and electric cars and communications devices, amazing communications devices, et cetera. He's a builder. He's a business owner. He's an entrepreneur. He's not a political figure. He did not want to be a political figure, but they pushed him too far. They politicized everything. And so by definition, he was politicized against his will, I would say. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are operating a business in the United States under the protection of the US government and the patent protections, the rule of law protections that are a prerequisite to operating a business, right? You can't operate a business in Congo because they don't have these protections, right? No matter how smart you are, you can't do it. You can do it here. I don't think it's too much to ask that you basically try to uphold the core values of the country, which are not partisan. They're the Bill of Rights. And the first freedom guaranteed in the Bill of Rights is the freedom of speech and of assembly and of religion. So if you are affirmatively attacking the Bill of Rights in the United States, you are a criminal committing treason against the United States. That's just, those are the definitions. And I don't think it's too much to ask for American businesses in a totally nonpartisan way to support the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. I don't think that's crazy. That's not a lot to ask. And they don't. Overwhelmingly, they don't. Elon is the only owner of any big business in this country as of right now who does. And he's not even American by birth. He's a South African who moved here. He's an immigrant. And it is true that sometimes the immigrants see much more clearly than native-born Americans like me what's good about the country and what must be defended. And in his case, he's just, Bill of Rights must be defended. And the first freedom is the freedom of speech. And I will risk my entire fortune, which he has, and my life, which he has, to defend that freedom. And I just find that the most inspiring thing I've ever seen. I'm not for immigration. We have too much immigration into this country. I strongly feel that way. We do. But you look at Elon Musk, and it's hard to be against all immigration when you see an immigrant like that defending the rights his ancestors didn't write, those mine did, but he's defending them. So it does sort of make you think that there's something beautiful about that. It's hard to be against all immigration when you're living in a country with Elon Musk, honestly. I met Joe on the road, just going to I actually met Joe backstage at an event and just wound up talking to him. And I thought, wow, this is a really interesting, smart person. And then, of course, we had shared views and experiences about addiction, which I don't, spend a lot of time talking about in public, but which are meaningful to me personally. And I spend a lot of time, in private talking about them. So, but Joe, we connected immediately on that.
Hi, I'm Joe Polish, and I'm the founder of Genius Network, and it's just a really high-level connection network for entrepreneurs, and we help build better entrepreneurs. I met Tucker in Anaheim when I went out to one of his tours, and I had previously seen the one in Phoenix that he did with Russell Brand, and he had Bobby Kennedy Jr. at the one in Anaheim, and Bobby is a friend of mine because I had interviewed him at my previous Genius Network annual event in 2023, and then again in 2024. And with Tucker, we just hit it off. The guy has tremendous courage. Really calls people out. He's opinionated. However, his opinions have been forged for many, many years of interviewing tens of thousands of people, including some of the most influential figures in the world, some that he doesn't even agree with, but he seeks it out. So I really admire his courage and his voice in putting himself out there. And he has admitted that he has been wrong on many things, and he will admit that, which I really admire, because a lot of people can just be wrong and they never apologize. They never say they were wrong. They just always think they're right. And he does not come from that place. And so that's one of the many qualities that I like about him. And he definitely pisses some people off, but I think a hell of a lot more people love him than dislike him, even though some people cannot stand him. And he is able to take all of that in and still do what he does. The reason I brought Tucker to speak at Genius Network as a surprise, along with as a surprise Bobby Kennedy Jr. for the second time and Jordan Peterson, was this was the first interviews that all three of them had done right after the elections where Trump got elected. And I was prepared, no matter who won or was chosen for the election, to have a conversation with all of the entrepreneurs, because members of Genius Network, they all run $1 million plus companies. You have to be at that level in order to even join the group and attend the event. And even before the event, I'd done a Zoom with Tucker talking about not everyone's going to be conservative. There's going to be liberals in the audience. And he's like, that's great, because, let's talk to everybody. So he was very excited to come and share and have the conversation. And frankly, everybody loved him except for just a tiny handful of people. I only had one single conversation out of 388 people in the room that just, it wasn't even about Tucker. It was just they can't stand Trump. And I heard some members say that a couple of people, were upset, but they didn't personally tell me that. Other than one individual, and I'm not making this up, one single person was the only one that verbally communicated anything to me negative. Everyone else was like, oh my God, that was so helpful. And if you just go look at the comments on the interview with Tucker that we've put on our YouTube channel, which is now on the Joe Polish Show, my brand new variety podcast, overwhelmingly just positive. It's, people were really impacted. And plus I had some really strong liberals that came up to me and thanked me for giving that perspective and what they learned from it. Genius Network is a group that started out as a mastermind group. I mean, I'm one of the original people that have been doing business masterminds. Started our first group back in 1998. What it is today is it's a connection network for what I call industry transformers. I actually got that name from one of our Genius Network members, Dan Sullivan, who's the founder of Strategic Coach. And an industry transformer are people that are the best in the world or one of the best in the world in their industry, in their category. The focus of Genius Network, and I don't have a tagline that really articulately describes exactly what Genius Network is, because it would be impossible to do that. It's just a connection network with a variety of subjects and topics, personal and professional. We sell them what they want, but we do our best to give them what they need. So we have topics ranging from how to get into a flow state, to all kinds of stuff related to health, to love relationships, to exercise, to addiction recovery, and even workaholism. So it is a place to help build a better entrepreneur, and it's one of the highest level entrepreneurial groups in the world. So there's different ways to access Genius Network. Certainly I will put some of the interviews like I did with Tucker Carlson, Jordan Peterson, and Bobby Kennedy, and mostly business entrepreneurs and people that are icons and very successful in their business, and oftentimes people that aren't famous at all, but they have incredible insight and knowledge. So I'll put that on the Joe Polish Show podcast. I'll put that on my YouTube channel. People that want to be in the room. The interesting thing about Genius Network is many people join not because of who's in the room, but who's not in the room. They don't want to be in a room where people that are well known, very successful, are having to, have people come up to them and try to ask them for something or try to sell them something. So we have a very safe place for achievement-focused entrepreneurs that have a company that does at least $1 million or more. We do have people in the group that have companies that are valued at over $1 billion. So there's some very successful entrepreneurs. And if you're looking for a high-level group and you are a giver and you are achievement-focused, then I would look at geniusnetwork.com. There is an application process, and we do curate the group to have the right fit people. And if someone's interested, they can fill out an application. We will then have one of our team members follow up, and if you're a right fit for the group and we're a right fit for you based on your goals, we'll have a conversation about that, and then we will determine if it would be a good place for you. I built the exact group that I wish had existed for many years, and now it does, and so it's awesome.
Innovation comes when the most energetic, smartest people are allowed to do their thing. When entrepreneurs are allowed to be entrepreneurial, and artists are allowed to create art, and writers are allowed to write literature, and Elon's allowed to build rockets, and it doesn't matter sort of what color they are, what gender they are. It just matters that they have the energy and the drive and the intelligence and the ability to organize sufficient to get that done. That's just true.